All right, well, welcome. Thank you for being here this afternoon on what I consider to be a really exciting day for the city. I want to first tip my hat to Xperity, whose space we're using right here for this announcement, which pretty fitting. They're kind of a software as a service success story here in Sioux Falls. Private equity-backed company that has had a lot of success and has built a great business on the back of the internet. And so it's kind of for that reason that we're assembled today. You know, this is a day that, quite honestly, I've been looking forward to, I would say almost more than any other day since I took office 18 months ago. When I took office, this announcement today was one of the first meetings we had. John Clemmy's here. He remember we pulled the group together. I said, we got to get cracking on this. And that has led us to today. So our administration, the city, has been really focused on technology and innovation. We created a Department of Innovation and Technology shortly after I took in office. Jason Reisdorfer here leads that department for the city. You know, we're deploying apps to communicate with constituents. We're rolling out new employee engagement software programs in the city. We're doing a lot of things that I often call public entrepreneurship, right? Bringing business principles, entrepreneurial principles into government, and they can coexist despite what some people may say. So today we're here to talk about what that next step in innovation looks like for the city. In the past week, I've actually had the chance to talk to a handful of Silicon Valley and Seattle tech companies in some business recruitment opportunities that we have here in Sioux Falls. And quite honestly, they're sick of the West Coast rat race, all right? Sioux Falls is starting to show up on their maps. The talent we have here, the culture we have here, the cost of living, the low crime, our education system is incredible. And they also really like the approach that our city has taken to innovation. And that's how I've always looked at connectivity within our city as something that will give us long-term a competitive advantage in the country to be an early adopter of emerging technologies like we're going to discuss today. So today is a good example of what happens when, you know, the federal level and the municipal level work together. And also then when they can work together, great things can happen with the private sector. And I'm really proud of the synergy that came together as a result of that, federal, local, and the private sector. So there's one person here who's, you know, just been an incredible champion, and I know Craig's going to talk about this as well, but that's Senator Thune. Senator Thune we were talking in the back room before we came out here that Thune gave one of the first presentations to Congress on this topic back in 2016 on the topic of 5G and connectivity, and that was a term a lot of people didn't even know yet. And so for the past 3+ years, he's been leading that effort. So I would be remiss if I didn't extend an extreme debt of gratitude and thanks from the city for all your leadership on that, Senator. So let's give him a hand if you will. So, you know, lastly, I'll just say this. When I campaigned 2 years ago now, I used the phrase next generation leadership a lot, and that seemed to resonate with people. And today, I think we get a chance to look at what you know, the next generation of technology looks like in our city, which will help us recruit the next generation of worker, the next generation of business, and keep our economy really plowing forward. And we know we have a strong economy in Sioux Falls. I think what we're going to be rolling out today is going to put that economy on steroids. And so today's a good day for Sioux Falls, good day for our state, and a good day for public-private partnerships. And so with that, I'm very honored to introduce the team from Verizon that came here today to help share in this announcement. And Craig Silliman is here as the Executive Vice President and Chief Administrative, Legal, and Public Policy Officer for Verizon. It's first time in Sioux Falls, so we gave him a Chamber of Commerce day today because November can be rough, man. You know, we never know what we're going to get in November. But Craig is Executive Vice President, Chief Administrative, Legal, and Public Policy Officer. He's responsible for all of Verizon's supply chain, real estate, public policy, legal, regulatory and security groups from corporate. So we're honored to have Craig here today. Thanks for the investment that Verizon is making in the city of Sioux Falls. We're honored, and we're glad to have you in our city. So with that, I'll turn it over to Craig.
Thanks, Mayor. As the Mayor said, my name is Craig Silliman. I'm Executive Vice President at Verizon, and I am absolutely thrilled to be here with Senator John Thune and Mayor Paul Tenhagen to announce that Verizon is bringing 5G to Sioux Falls. We expect to officially launch later this month, and when we do, Sioux Falls will be one of the first 20 cities in the United States of America to be on Verizon's 5G ultra-wideband network. This is a big deal. It's an exciting thing for us at Verizon, and I hope it's an exciting thing for Sioux Falls. After this announcement, we're going to go out and visit one of the construction sites on our 5G small cells to really see what goes into it, because it is a major undertaking to bring together the pole, a location for the antenna, the power that has to come in, the spectrum that has to be available. That means that it doesn't happen unless we have good policy coming out of Washington, D.C., and unless we have a great partnership with the city here on the ground. And that's why I'm so pleased to be here with two great far-sighted leaders. For many years now, Senator Thune has been one of the foremost advocates for great telecom and other policy coming out of Washington. He has advocated streamlining the ability to invest in infrastructure and making more spectrum available so that we can build out just like we've seen here. So Senator Thune, with his leadership in Washington, is fundamentally responsible for a lot of the development we are seeing. So, Senator, thank you very much for your leadership. And the reason we're here in Sioux Falls specifically today really comes down to the fantastic partnership with the city and with the mayor. Mayor, you have been just incredible to work with. Our network team talks about the fact that they cannot think of any city that has been more easy to work with, more of a partner, as we have worked through the issues involved in building out the 5G network here in Sioux Falls. And without that partnership, we would not be standing here today announcing 5G coming to Sioux Falls. So, Mayor, thank you for your leadership on this. We're also going to visit a live 5G node, because although we're not officially launching until later this month, we do have a few nodes live here. I had the pleasure of walking up and down Phillips Avenue this morning and testing a few of the nodes, and the throughput is unbelievable. We're getting speeds of a gigabit per second. To put that into context, most people in their home wired broadband services never use more than about 50 megabits per second. So you're talking about 20 times what most people ever even use at home. You'll be able to get on one of these devices walking right down Phillips here in front of where we are. So that's exciting. 5G is going to be incredible new capabilities. But what exactly is 5G going to make possible? The honest answer is I don't know. And that's what makes it so exciting, because what 5G is going to make possible is limited only by the imagination of millions of developers who are going to begin working on this. So once this is live, what we're excited about is seeing what developers in Silicon Valley, in Seattle, and in Sioux Falls come up with to really build on top of these 5G networks we're building. Because remember, when we first built the 4G networks, we had no idea that developers would use that enhanced speed to be able to use mapping apps that would allow you to hail a car or have food delivered to you, or turn this device into a limitless portal into music and video and photos. What those developers all over the country, including here in Sioux Falls, will come up with in 5G remains to be seen, but it's going to be really exciting. Finally, technology is exciting. Technology can empower, but only if you also take into account the human element, because it's only a tool. And ultimately, we need to invest not just in technology, but also in people. So I'm also very excited to announce that we've partnered with the Sioux Falls Public Schools Education Foundation to give a $50,000 grant to invest in the innovative solutions programs that the Education Foundation is working on, so that we're also investing in the education and the people here in Sioux Falls while we're also investing in the network. So thank you again for the warm welcome. Thank you, Mayor, for arranging the sunshine. I appreciate it very much. I'm very excited to see where we go next in Sioux Falls with 5G. Thank you very much. And with that, I have the great pleasure to introduce someone known well to all of you, Senator John Thune.
Thanks, Craig. Well, thank you, Craig. It's great to welcome Verizon to Sioux Falls in a new and exciting way. Thank you to all of you for being here. Thank you for your investment in the Sioux Falls School District. And I know Superintendent Maher and his team will doing some great things, and we want to continue to train the leaders of the future on the skill sets that are necessary to take full advantage of these wonderful transformational changes in technology that we're seeing literally on a daily basis here in this country. And one of 20, that's pretty cool. And I'm delighted to hear that has been pointed out already. This is an issue in which I've had a great interest for some time. I had the privilege and opportunity to chair in the United States Senate for 4 years the Commerce, Science, and Transportation Committee, a committee which is, I describe it, has a very broad, vast jurisdiction. In fact, it probably has the biggest jurisdiction of any committee in the United States Senate. It has transportation modes, planes, trains, automobiles, I call it, technology, the internet. It has the space program, oceans, maritime, professional sports, the Olympics. The committee has a very vast jurisdiction, and there are issues that are really interesting, but they're also really relevant, and particularly relevant to South Dakota. We spent a lot of time focused on transportation issues because we are a state that depends very heavily when it comes to moving freight and agricultural commodities and people across our state. But one of the other areas that we really need and benefit from here in South Dakota is technology. And so the opportunity to actually see 5G come to South Dakota is something that we started contemplating a long time ago, and worked aggressively on legislation that would enable these types of new technologies to come to pass. A bill that I authored and we eventually got passed and signed into law called the Mobile Now Bill makes available for commercial use more spectrum. Spectrum is essential for these new networks. We're working on other legislation called the Streamline Act. It's a bipartisan bill that helps with the infrastructure that is necessary to support fifth-generation technology. But I don't have to tell you, and Craig already mentioned, when it comes to 4G, how much what we saw just in terms of the explosion, the productivity, the GDP gains, the jobs that we created as a result of winning the race to 4G. And we need to make sure that we're putting the right policies in place to win the race to 5G. And so we're going to continue to focus on those things in hopes that we will see more announcements like today across South Dakota and across this country that will put our country at the forefront when it comes to taking advantage of the benefits of these technological advances that add so much in terms of not only the productivity, the quality of life, the jobs that come with it, and a standard of living that is second to none. And we want to make sure that South Dakota is at the forefront of that as well. So this is an exciting day, obviously, for all of us here in Sioux Falls and across South Dakota, and I would argue across this country. I'm grateful to the leadership at the FCC. Ajit Pai has worked very hard as the chairman there and his team of commissioners to put policies in place that sort of mirror the things that we're trying to do legislatively through the Streamline Act. One of the real keys to making sure that we get the full benefit of 5G is getting additional mid-band spectrum made available. A huge priority and something that policymakers in Washington, D.C. Need to be really focused on right now. But as I said, we started having these conversations a few years ago. When the mayor got elected, we talked about this, and I knew of his background as a tech entrepreneur, and that he would get the value of investing in these types of new technologies, and so we had some conversations, and he took steps. We didn't just have conversations, he took clear steps that have enabled what is happening today to happen. And when they talk about the launch later this month and what's going to come next year, it's really a result of the leadership of the mayor, making it easier, less difficult, less expensive to really invest in and build out some of the infrastructure that's necessary to enable us to benefit from 5G technologies. And that means making it easier to site and permit and all the things that come with that. But he's been a very progressive in terms of putting in place the regulations, the rules, the ordinances here at the city level that are enabling this to happen today. And so I want to thank the mayor for his leadership on this. You know, like you said, when you're only getting 20 countries or 20 cities around the country, including a lot of really big really big cities, population centers that obviously would be probably more natural targets for this. The reason it's happening here is because the mayor was willing to partner with a private sector company like Verizon to work closely with us at the federal level to understand what he needed to do and the kind of leadership that he needed to provide here in Sioux Falls to make this happen. And so great credit goes to Mayor Paul Tenhaken and his team at City Hall for taking all the steps that are necessary to get this done. I'm excited to see it. I know that when I think about South Dakota and its future, I think of precision agriculture. I think of telehealth and telemedicine and being able to deliver healthcare services via technology to remote areas across South Dakota, to rural areas. I think of distance learning and what it means for not only at the sort of the secondary level, but when you start looking at the college and career and tech ed schools and the opportunities that you can offer to people that maybe necessarily can't get to the places to study, and what that enables them to do to improve their lives. There are just so many benefits that come with this kind of technology, and I think it really is the future, not only for South Dakota, but for this country. And other countries around the world are racing us to get there first. 5G technology is something that China, Asian countries, European countries are all aspiring to. It's going to take strong leadership by the companies like Verizon who are willing to invest. It's going to take strong leadership by our governmental entities working together, partnering together. But if we do that, we will see the benefits of 5G, and it will be transformational for our economy here in South Dakota and across this country. So I'm grateful to be here today. When you talk about 1.1 gigabits per second, and I'm going to be coming down here to download my favorite Netflix shows, I can tell you that, because that's the kind of speed that is just completely eclipses and dwarfs anything that we've been familiar with in the past. They're talking about 100 times faster downloads, a level of connectivity and access to connectivity that we just have not seen ever before. And the Internet of Things that you hear people talk about, there are just, I think at this time, unforeseen benefits that we will reap as a result of making these kinds of investments. So thank you all. Thanks Mayor, thanks Craig, thanks for bringing your team out here from Verizon, and we'll look forward to continuing to work with you as we build out these technologies and see all the benefits that come from it for people here in South Dakota and across the country. Thank you.